where we start. This is a long interruption. Yeah.
Three lines from the bottom. Elin, Mamash, and
Ah,
we started.
yeah.
We started Tashmechem.
Yishmechem be'itel.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, we'll start from there. 3 lines from the bottom. And the principle that he's saying is that although there was, after the creation, there was also a krisis bris, there was a permanent covenant set with Noach, that there is never going to be a disruption of the highest of the world. So therefore, what is the necessity of Torah mitzvahs? And he explains that the meaning of Torah mitzvahs is to bring a different level of chayes. Not a chayes that is limited to what is needed to the sustenance of the world, but that which actually reveals a greater quality. In Indian was called Ein Ein Sof. And he explains at the very end of what we learned and just as we see in the Gan Eden, it says by Odom Orishein, that Odom Orishein was put in Gan Eden, Le'ovdo L'Shomro. And the Gemara says, Le'ovdo is Ramach, Mitzvahs Hasei, L'Shomro is Mitzvahs Le'Saseh. And what is the point? Even though the Gan Eden is already there, but by the addition of mitzvahs haseh, mitzvahs leisaseh, he is mamshich a different, a higher type of gilui oir in Gan Eden. Okay. This Indian, what is the higher type and so forth, this will be discussed later on. So we're starting Ukiodua, in the middle of the line, the 3rd line from the bottom. Ukiodua de Gan Eden meir gilo yoir ho atzilus. That in Gan Eden there is the revealed oir of atzilus. Uneshomes began Eden masigim bechinas mehus haziv. And the neshomes in Gan Eden, they are able to comprehend. It's called masigim, comprehend. But it doesn't just mean to understand, but it means to actually relate to the mehus haziv. This inyan of Mehus Haziv is in contrast to what's called the Mitzius. We will have, opportunity to discuss Mitzius and Mehus. But very basically, Mitzius, actually we already discussed it before. Mitzius means we know of its existence, we know of its presence. And we know of its presence because of proofs, because of some manifestations, because of some functions that come from it. So we know that it exists. Nahus is a totally different quality of knowledge. Nahus means that you know the inyan directly, not because it affects you, not because of some contrast, but because you know the Inyan directly in and of itself. Like generally speaking, Re'iyah and Shmiya, Shmiya is the Metzius, and Re'iyah is the Mahus. If you hear somebody moving a table, putting a table down, so you know something was put down because it hit the ground. So you know it by some activity, some manifestation that reflected itself to you. How do you know something must move? Because you heard it. Something kind of hit you, so you know that it's there. When you look at an object, then the object may be completely off the side, and it has nothing to do with you at all. And you don't even know what its function is. But you know it from its mahus. You know it because you know it directly. It doesn't have to function. It doesn't have to act for you to know it. Because you see that there is a real thing there. Because of its reality, that's why you know it. Not because of its activity. This is the difference between Mahus and Metzius. Metzius you know because of an activity, whereas Mahus you know because of its reality. You know it because it's there. So this is a much more profound level of knowledge. And the truth is that Mahus, like we say, Re'iyah and Shmiya, all our knowledge, all our understanding is at the level of Shmiya, at the level of understanding, of logic. Like we hear, we know about the thing. Real knowledge, direct knowledge, that you know the truth of something, you know it because of its truth, not because of its activity. That is really a step beyond the seichel as we know it. Because seichel as we know it is that you find things out through a logical process. That means that you don't know it directly. Knowing things directly is, at our level, is like actually beyond seichel. We also experience that because when one reaches the point of chokhmah and has a spark of chokhmah, there too it's relating to the mahus. It's knowing the Inyan not because of its periphery, not because of its activity, but because you can actually relate to the essence. Because it's true, that's when you know it. So in Gan Eden, the Gili Oir in Gan Eden is much higher than in the world. In the world, it's all only Metzius. You know Elokus, you know the truth only on a Metzius level. And Metzius simply means that you know that there is the Creator because you see that He has created. Because you see through His activity, you know that He is there. Whereas knowing Mahus means that you know the Creator because you see the Creator, not because of His activities.
How do you type the word seed though? I've heard like ray or reflection. So
Yeah, well, there are different terms used, oir, siv, ha'ora, and all that. In general, since we're now going into this, Mahuz HaSiv means the ray. the Mahuz Haziv. That Indian that this is called Ziv, which means an oil, a light, also is significant because we always explain that the meaning of using the term oir or ziv when you talk about elokus, why you called it oir? Excuse me? Because it is connected to the moir, and in its connection to the moir, it actually points to the moir. In other words, when we see a light and we know that this light is true because if not for a source, if not for the luminary, the light wouldn't be here. And this Indian that the light reflects its source gives the light a different quality of truth. This we spoke also one time before, that when you have a light, we once contrasted the light of day versus the light of a candle, if you remember that, right? The light of a candle is because the candle is burning. So even though it's also a light, but you see the limit of its source, because the candle is burning down, and eventually it'll burn down and nothing will be of it. Which means that this light is pointing to a source that is in itself limited. So it doesn't give you the sense that really it is light. It is a temporary light even while it exists. But when you have a light that emanates from a true source, from an infinite source, then the light itself reflects and represents an infinite light, because it has an infinite source. And therefore you see that this is a true light. It's not just there temporarily. Even though light itself is not the real thing, but you see that it's a true light because it actually represents and reflects the truth of its source. And as the Pasuk says, Eskashti nosati be'onon. This Pasuk, Eskashti nosati be'onon, is actually in relation to the covenant with the world. That there's never going to be a Mabel again. It says, Eskashti nosati be'onon. I put my keshes in the cloud, and this will be the sign for the covenant. So you say that in the kashti, the word kashti, it has also a remez in the word dovar hamukoshli. Mukosh means something that is compared to me, like a hekesh in the Gemara. Comparing. Dovar hamukoshli. What is the pshat that it is kashti, that it is something which is compared to me? It's explained elsewhere, the Hainu Bechinas Gilui Hakav, that this Dovar Hamukeshli, the similarity to me, refers to the Gilui Hakav, Shemeir began Eden. The kav, this refers to the the Seder Hishtalshus, the light that emanates all the way from before the Tzimtzum, and it comes down throughout the entire Seder Hishtalshus. And it is all basically the same kav, except it goes through various levels, various what's called Tzimtzumim. But it's basically all the same kav. And in the sense that it's the same kav, again, what is the significance in the same kav? That it's all really pointing all the way up to its source. That's what a kav is. So the Gili HaKav Shemeir began Eden, v'tzadikim yoishvim v'nehen miziv hashchina.
The kav is not the zeal. The kav it says here.
Let's finish. It is a sif. Gili HaKav Shemeir began Eden, v'tzadikim yoishvim v'nehen miziv hashchina. And tzaddikim have ha'oineg, ha'nehanin, they benefit from the ziv of the Shekhinah, from the shine of the Shekhinah, which means shemasigim mahuz haziv hazeh, that they relate and they comprehend, they absorb the mahuz of this ziv. Which ziv? The gilui hakav. I really don't want to go into every word over here. There is the ziv is like the gilui hakav. Gilui means the revelation of the kav. And the tzaddikim, the neshamis in Gan Eden, they actually absorb the mahus of this ziv.
But it is natural makeup, right?
I'm sorry?
It's natural makeup. That's how it's made.
Yeah.
Just natural, with the covenant of grace, right?
Yeah. Right, the kav, this is part of the Seder Hishtalshus. Omnom, however, kol zeh hu bechinas ha'oir the Seder Hishtalshus. This too, even the Gilui Hakav in Gan Eden, is all the oir that is part of Seder Hishtalshus. Seder Hishtalshus means the order of chaining down. Basically, what this means is that there are different madregas, and as it comes from up down, it changes to the madrega, to the lower madrega. Shezehu mashakosuf, and this is what the pasuk refers to when it says Vayita Havaya Lekim. By Gan Eden it says Vayita Havaya Lekim, that Hashem planted a garden in the Eden. What does this mean? For the Hainu, this means the B'tchilas Brias V'Yizhavos Gan Eden, that in the very beginning of the creation of Gan Eden, the biyud nivra oilam haba, the very inception of Gan Eden, which is sourced and represents the yud of the Shem Havaya. The yud hu bechinas chochma, and yud is the union of chochma. Therefore, it means v'hainu bechinas Abba Ilah de mekanon ba'atzilus. The point that he is making here is that even Gan Eden, where there is the Gilui Hakav and Gilui Elokus, at the very highest level of Gan Eden, at the very inception, it is from the Yud of the Shem Havaya. And what is the Yud? This is Chochmah. Chochmah is the beginning of Seder Hishtalshus. Avol, but lehoisiv gilu yoyra leki began Eden. to add additional Gilu Yoir, a godly Oir in Gan Eden. Hu alidei avedas ha'odam lamato. That only comes through the avodah of men lamato below. B'kiyum ateiru mitzvahs dafke. Only through miteiru mitzvahs. Shalidei zeh, because through this, as a result of teiru mitzvahs, mamshichim toisves oiris. We bring down additional oiros, mei oir in soiv hamatzil began Eden. From Eir in soiv, from the very source before they say the Rishtalshalos, into Gan Eden. V'chein b'klolos ha'olemus, into Gan Eden, and also in the world in general. These inyonim, just want to, all of this in the past page, all the way till the end, is all a summary, really, an introduction of what is going to be discussed. Because what is this higher oir, and what is Seder Hishtalshalos? All this was just mentioned in a very introductory fashion. What does it all mean? What is Seder Hishtalshalos, and what is higher than Seder Hishtalshalos? All this will be discussed, and therefore I'm just leaving it as an introduction. V'zeu shekosef, and this is what the Pasuk says, Yizbu atzei havaya asher noto. Yizbu, let him be satisfied, satiated, atzei havaya, the trees, the godly trees, asher nota, which he planted. Atzei havaya hu hagila de Gan Eden. Atzei havaya, this refers to, this is the gila in Gan Eden. Shemeir be gila havaya, because in Gan Eden there's a gili of Shem Havayik, Mishakos of Vayita Havayik. As the Pasuk says, that God in Gan Eden is the idea from Vayita Havayik. Gan Eden is called a plantation of Hashem. The Yizbu Atzei Havayik, and when you say Yizbu means that they should be additionally satiated. Hainu Shemamshichim Bechinas Teis V'Seires B'Shem Havayik. That you mamshich additional oires into the Shem Havaya. Shemeir began Eden, al the Shem Havaya that is in Gan Eden, and how are you mamshich this additional oires al yedei Torah mitzvahs? Okay, this is, as I said, briefly describing, introducing the meaning of Torah mitzvahs. A Torah mitzvahs is for the purpose of the mamshich additional oires, that which was not part of the design of the creation of the world, even of Gan Eden. And this is something which is beyond and higher than that. The Hine, Bekam or Pashi is the Torah, Messiah, Ani Havaya. In many Pashis in the Torah, the conclusion of the Pasha is Ani Havaya, Ani Hashem. The L'cha'oira, it would seem questionable, Eine Muva. We don't understand Mahu HaChoisem Ani Havaya. What is the significance? What is the meaning Ani Havaya? Ani Havaya means when you sign off, you sign your name, that means the whole writing is written and you don't know who wrote it, basically. And then when there's the signature attests and so, oh, this comes from person such and such. Ani Havaya. So when he says that there is a chsima at the end of this pasha, it says that who said the pasha, Ani Havaya. So what is the significance of that? Haloi Shem Havaya Eina Yadu Alonu Begilui Mamash. The Shem Havaya is not really known to us. We know about it, but not Begilui. But what is Begilui in the world is Havaya as it comes to Shem Elikim. But the Shem Havaya itself is not really known to us. So what is the significance of signing off a Pasha Ani Havaya? Acho Inyan hu, but Inyan is the Hinei Hamshochas Bechinas Oir Chodesh Mi'atzmus Hamatzi Be'abiyah. But because that, to be mamshich a new light from Atzmus into Atzir, into the world Abiyah, nimshech alidei Teiru mitzvahs. This comes to Teiru mitzvahs. In a nimshach bedalad oisiyas havaya. Nimshach al dal deis havaya. This hamshochas eir chodosh comes into the four oisiyas of Shem Havaya. What is the union of the dalad oisiyas? Vehu, the Shem Havaya is like this. Hayu chuhu bechinas hatzimtzum dechoch. I want to introduce this scene a little bit. There is a Shem Havaya, and there are four oisiyas in Shem Havaya. And the oir is nimshach into and through these four oisiyas of Shem Havaya. There are 2 points that I'd like to introduce as an introduction to the senior. The Inyan Elokus and Atzmus, as we always say, Atzmus Amatzil and Eir Ein Sof. If it's Eir Ein Sof, it's infinite. Infinity doesn't have to be Nimshach, it's all over. There's no place where it's not. How can it not be there? So if it's all over, so what is that as a nimshach? Nimshach means that this infinity is being expressed and being revealed in such a fashion that you can actually grasp it. Even though infinity as such cannot be grasped. But here, it's nimshach in such a way that it should be able to be grasped. The concept of grasp is simply this. You have an object, you have a table. If you want to pick up the table from what's called its infinite part, in other words, a part where if you don't touch its limits, you can't pick it up. Nothing to grab onto. How do you grasp it? When you go to its limit and you pick it up from its edges where it ends, and then you can pick up the whole table.
Infinity doesn't have edges.
What?
Infinity doesn't have edges.
Infinity doesn't have edges. Right, no. That's not, this is only an illustration of the concept of grasp. Infinity doesn't have edges. This is why infinity we are totally unaware of. It is here all the time. We're totally unaware of it. Because since that we can become aware only of things that we can grasp, that have edges, and we grasp them through their edges. If this table, for instance, were much larger than we could see the ends of it, we wouldn't know it's a table. You wouldn't know what it is. You know what it is only because we see it edges, not because we see this. So here is like a paradox that really Oyer Ein Sof has no edges. There's no way that we can grasp it. And therefore, if Oyer Ein Sof should be Nisgala, it would blind us completely. Because we can, if it has no edges and something is without limit shining on us, we can't see anything. And that's obvious. And yet, what happens is that Oyer Ein Sof itself, this is the important point, the second point, that Oyer Ein Sof is nimshach through the Daled Oisis of Shem Havaya. What is Daled Oisis Shem Havaya? Shem Havaya, there's, without going into tangents, but one thing we know, that Shem Havaya is a name. A name means a means through which an entity is known. What is a name? Your name, Avram, it means that this is how you're known to someone else. Through this name, you become known. I'm sorry?
It's also called a handle. It's also called a handle.
Right, in different context. Okay. But in context that we're talking about, it means that this is the means through which you expose yourself. You say, what's your name? Oh, okay, now I know you. How do I know? I know what to refer to. This becomes a conduit through which you reveal yourself, you express yourself. That's in from the name. A name could be an arbitrary name, which is unrelated to the object. But a name in Lashon HaKodesh, in Torah, especially in Elokus, is a name that is entirely descriptive of what it reveals, what it's relating to. You understand what I'm saying, right? It's not just an arbitrary name. Call me Yankel Todas. It's a name that is a proper name that actually relates to that. We have Shem, a name, and the name consists of 4 oisies. Shem Havai. What does that mean? That this inyan of Elokus reveals itself through these 4 oisies. This means Shem Havai. This is the manner through which it reveals itself. What are these 4 oisies? These 4 oisies describe the following phenomenon. On the one hand, we are giving a name to something that is infinite. And if it's infinite, you can grasp it. You can relate to it. On the other hand, we're giving it a name.
Name is fine.
Huh?
Name is fine. You can give him a name.
No, I said a name has to reveal him. has to say something.
But it can't be just a nickname thing.
That's right, it's not an arbitrary name. A nickname is you're referring to nothing. Saying you're giving it a name. On the one hand, you're saying it's something that cannot be revealed, it's infinite. Then you say, what? I'm giving it a name. What does that mean? It means that true that in the essence that it is, it cannot be revealed. But through the process of these 4 steps, you can have an inkling, you can have a gilui from that inkling. This is the information of life.
Meaning that you can grasp.
Then, yeah, it can be grasped. There is a means through which this infinity can reveal itself, not in its infinite state, but in a state that comes through these 4 stages, these 4 letters.
It's like a paradox.
Okay, that's a paradox. Just follow what I'm saying. So this is the pshat, and give Shem Havaya. Shem Havaya means that this is the name Havaya. It's the name that's of Hashem himself, of Ein Sof. But it is a name of Ein Sof. It means it is the means through which Ein Sof can come into Gilus. And so now he explains this here. What is the Dala Daisa Yisavaya? The Dala Daisa Havaya is Yud, K, and Vav K. So briefly it is this. Vehu, Ha-Yud, what is the Yud? Shehu Bechinas Ha-Tzimtzum de Chochma. The Yud represents the Tzimtzum of Chochma. K'may Nekuda B'tchila. Just like a Nekuda at the very start. The very start. The start of what? Ein Sof doesn't have a start. So Ein Sof doesn't have a Nekuda, doesn't have a start. But has a start. That which comes through a process. That which comes through a process of revelation. Not that which is there dynamically, it's just there. That which is expressed. In expressing something, there's a start. That's a minyan itself doesn't have a start. And this is the pshat. This is the first letter of the Shavai. First letter of Shavai is the Yud, which says that I am now approaching the union of Elokus from a different angle, in a different way. Not the Ein Sof as it is to itself, but how I can bring it down to a grasp, to a gilui. To a gilui means that I would know it. That means I would assign to it some kind of a definition, some kind of a boundary, some kind of a meaning. That's not Ein Sof, but it has a definition. And therefore, in order to do that, since we talk about being mamshich, to be mamshich, there has to be a start.
I know this is too much of a waste of time, I think I don't ask. Well, I already have an idea of describing it, of starting to try to grasp it. You already know it's infinite, so what else you want from it? But why would you want to start it with
Ah. Did you hear the question?
No.
Repeat the question.
You already know that there is such a thing as infinite light on Hashem. It doesn't have any boundaries. So why would that's not known for you? So why would you, if that's known as a fact, why would you try to make it limited? Why try to grasp it with your limited mind?
Powerful question.
Not
What?
not so
Maybe rephrase the question. If we know that the Abishter is unlimited, why are we trying to grasp in infinity?
Right. You already know. You know everything there is to know about Hashem. He's infinite.
But the way he comes down, as far as the Shtalshalos is concerned, it is understandable, somewhat.
Well, that's not infinity. We're talking. So you're talking about the world.
No, wouldn't that be a question if we made up Shem Havaya? The question is posed like, why are we trying to start to explain and to understand this story and say, but we didn't start the process. Shem made Shem Havaya. This is the Shem. See what I'm saying?
So the same question.
Also, you're asking the question on the Shem.
Yeah. Well, what's the point?
Why try to explain to us?
He is right. He is going to give it through a tzimtzum and through a process where in fact it is Ein Sof. Doesn't he detract from it cannot be revealed fully because it comes to a process. It comes to a process. It's not the real revelation of Ein Sof. If it's not a real revelation itself, so what's the point?
To express it, he needs to make some type of boundary, and then once he makes a boundary, then we lose the
L'choira, we would be losing it, and that we'll see already,
Being infinite, by saying that he's infinite, you limited him by putting a limitation on him just being infinite.
That's even a greater thing. You're saying even if we just accept this limit that he's infinite, still, what are we accomplishing by putting it in Shem Havaya?
He cannot be grasped. Since he's limited, he cannot be grasped. So you're putting a limit on him. He cannot be grasped. He's something that he cannot be grasped. And this limit that putting onto him.
No, it's putting a limit on you. Because your grasp is through finite faculties. And a finite faculty cannot grasp infinity.
True greatness is that the ability to be able to be understood by the finite.
Why? What you're referring to is something else. You're saying that if we would say that Hashem only has capability on the infinite level, it doesn't have capability on the finite level, then we're putting a limit on him. But we're not saying that, because Hashem did create a finite world. Right? So he's capable of creating a finite world. So now, in our finite world, we are groping and we want to see what's in infinity. So suffice it to say that infinity is not finite. That's it. You know it all about it.
Our inability to understand, to grasp infinity. It's also very often, it's not possible for us to understand, to comprehend infinity, but it would be a limitation to Hashem Hashem to say that He couldn't make
Well,
us.
let me just stop you. I'll tell you. We can go in circles in this. This is not the direction of the answer to his question. Particularly that when we're talking about Shem Havaya, we're talking about to be mamshich to us. We're not talking about Hashem's infinity. We're talking about Shem Havaya is in order to be mamshich. Right? That's what we're talking about. So he's asking a very proper question. What are you trying to do?